Hey everyone, my name is Julianne. I'm here with Life Happens, and we're on a mission to educate more people about life insurance. We have a brand new real life story to present today, and I'm really excited to be here with Braden Draggoo. Braden, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really excited about February being Insure Your Month, and I'm just excited. A big proponent of life insurance. I've been in the financial industry, working and doing lots of life insurance for the last 17, 18 years. And so February always excites me to get more people educated and excited about understanding life insurance and just the importance of, how critical and important it is as one of the most, biggest and critical tools that you can use inside of a financial picture or a financial plan of a family or an individual.
Yeah, it's Insure Your Love Month. So every year in February, we run the Insure Your Love campaign over at Life Happens to emphasize just how important it is to protect your loved ones with life insurance. Insure Your Love is also supported by NAIFA, of which Braden is a member. And Life Happens now offers a ton of benefits for NAIFA members, and we're really excited to share a bunch of new content for everyone during this Insure Your Love campaign. And Life Happens has also been doing this documentary series, Real Life Stories, for a while now. These videos highlight tragic but hopeful stories from real people that have experienced the loss of a loved one or some sort of disabling experience where they had a policy set up that really helped them through this really dark time in their life. So Real Life Stories aims to show people that things could really happen to anyone and show how life insurance can step in and help keep families afloat financially after a major loss. The brand new real life story we have today is actually a family Braden has worked with. Braden, can you tell us a little bit more about the Pleasance family?
Yes, the Pleasance family is a very, very special family, and Raquel and Ryan, I've known them. I knew them, Ryan, for probably 15 plus years. And Ryan was a firefighter. He was one of these first responders, and he was in the fire department for all these years down at Walla Walla. And I met them through the chief, who was a person that I went to high school with, and he introduced me to all of the firefighters in that department. And I started working with Raquel and Ryan, and they were great clients and became great friends. And we had kids about the same age. And so they were just really, really special people, but they were very, very intentional with making the right decisions and getting educated and doing the right things. They made the right decisions. And Ryan always wanted to make sure that he took care of his family. He always wanted to make sure that he protected his son and daughter, and obviously his wife, Raquel. So just very, very special people, but a pretty amazing story of somebody that just showed that love, that even if he wasn't here, he loved them enough to make sure that they're fully taken care of like they are today.
Yeah, and that's really what life insurance is about, right? Is, that just in case, that safety net that really can take care of your family no matter what.
Right. Yep.
So I think let's watch the Pleasance real life story now.
Ryan and I met at a local restaurant in town, and after talking, we decided to go out on a date, and the rest was history. When it came to life insurance, Ryan and I were on the same page, getting prepared for anything can happen, and just to make sure to take care of each other. Ryan was a man who was very kind, very compassionate about helping others.
I worked with Ryan about 20 years at the fire department. It wasn't just a job to him, it was obviously a passion and a calling.
He had a level of integrity and professionalism that was uncompared to anybody else.
When Ella was born, Ryan, he was stoked. No matter what his shift was, when he came home, he was dad mode. We had 2 kids, Ella and Oliver, and together we created a beautiful, safe place for our children. Ryan went to work Friday morning for his shift for the fire department and was supposed to come home Sunday morning. So that Sunday morning, I was getting the kids ready, and we were waiting for Ryan to come home, and we got a knock on the door. That knock was his chief and the other shift captain telling me that Ryan had died. in his bed at the station. Standing there right in the foyer, I thought it wasn't real.
He died of a myocardial infarction, or a heart attack.
You know, I was in denial. I was questioning, going, are you sure? This doesn't make sense. Not our Ryan. You're talking about somebody else, or something else must have happened.
There's a lot of things that you're ready for in this career, but this was not necessarily something that I was ready to deal with.
It's not real. It doesn't make sense. There was no warning signs.
Thoughts going through my head that morning was mostly about Rocky, her family, Ella and Oliver, and what we're going to do from then on.
Ryan was 41 years old when he passed. Our life insurance policies helped instrumentally after Ryan's death.
Raquel and Ella and Oliver today are doing as best they can. They still miss Ryan, obviously. They're living a life and they're figuring it out. They don't have to worry about finances or money issues. Ella's doing lacrosse, they're doing sports, they're getting involved, they're back in life. They will always miss their dad, but they're doing the things that Ryan would have wanted them to do, which is live.
The life insurance has allowed us time to grieve, be able to stay in the home that we are currently in, and not rush back to work. Without the life insurance, our lives would have looked drastically different than what they are today. I think it's important to share Ryan's stories because he was a healthy person. He was young. We were supposed to live old together. His death just goes to show that, again, nothing's guaranteed. Your life can be taken away from you in a split second. My name is Raquel Pleasance, and this is my story.
Wow, yeah. So I think stories like that just really make people think, you know, this is something that does happen. This could be so scary and happen to me. It really makes people think, you know, how is my coverage? Should I check in on my coverage? Should I get coverage if I don't have any? So I think the Pleasants are just, you know, one family that has benefited out of, you know, the tons of families that have benefited from these policies during a tragic time.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story, and just being there with the family and being a part of everything that happened, and just the Fire family that wrapped their arms around the family in this, you know, tragedy that this happened. It's quite amazing to just see and to watch, and just to be there emotionally with that. It was incredible, right? As to be able to help the family and then just to observe and watch things. It's the impact is, you can't measure the impact, I think, of what life insurance has done to take some stress off of Rocky, to be able to just stay at home and be a mom, and to love those kids and to keep them and provide for them. It's truly amazing.
I think that just, you know, Ryan's, you know, thinking about his family, it just really showed a lot of love and consideration on his part when, you know, he went to you to take out this policy. But that being said, just relating to the story, do you mind if we do a little life insurance Q&A?
Absolutely. And one thing I would mention about like Ryan, the first thing that Ryan went to, and we talked about all kinds of other financial tools and everything, but just so much of how he loved his family. The first thing that he wanted to do is to get life insurance. That was the first thing. And that's not normal of people always. They want to learn about other financial products and tools and other things that they've heard of. But Ryan, the first thing that came to his mind, the first thing he approached me about, the questions that he was excited about the most, was he really wanted to get life insurance to protect his family because he loved them. So I just think that's unique, because you don't always hear that from people. That's not always the first thing that comes to mind when people, you know, step up and say, hey, I want to get into a financial conversation. Insurance is sometimes not always the first thing that they're thinking about.
I think that says a lot about who he was as a person and, you know, how he really felt about his family. And it's really, you know, a tragedy what happened, of course. But the fact that his family was allowed the time to grieve and didn't have to, you know, panic about finances and bills immediately after, you know, such a horrible incident, is really, you know, at least a small silver lining that they had that. But, you know, Ryan passed in his early 40s. I think it's 41, right? So a lot of people think that life insurance is something to worry about later in life. When do you think is the right time for someone to start considering life insurance coverage, Braden?
So life insurance is, you know, really, really important. And we always talk about like age, and we talk about, you know, health being the two most critical factors of getting life insurance. And so making sure that you think about life insurance when you're younger, and getting life insurance when you're younger is like one of the most critical and most important things that you can do. And that, again, when I met Ryan when he was 24, 25, that was one of the first things that, you know, he did, was wanting to make sure, hey, I want to lock in my health. I want to lock in my age. I want to make sure that if something ever did happen to my health later down the road, that I was already covered, and this was already in place. And so he was 100% on board with that. And so was his wife, Rocky, and same with the kids. We actually ended up getting gifting policies that they felt like it was really, really important for them to get policies on. Both of, you know, their kids, Ella and Oliver, had policies when basically they were, as soon as they were born, we put life insurance policies on them because we locked them in at age 0. And so they're paying a 0-year-old rate for the rest of their lives. And their medical records and their files that they had to get approvals, they didn't have barely any because they were just a month or two old when we locked in those policies. And so it's very, very, it's forward thinking, it's smart thinking, and it's also just loving thinking, and it's setting up your family and you're setting up people early in life. And that's exactly what Ryan and Raquel did.
Yeah, so that protection is now, I mean, you know, generational. That forethought is generational now. You know, even though he's gone, his children are protected as well into their lives, and I think that's really important and a valuable thing to highlight. Now we know there's, you know, obviously different types of life insurance. Can you explain the difference between term and permanent life insurance in more simple terms, and, you know, why a family might need both?
Yeah, absolutely. And good point with what you said is sometimes it makes sense to have both. Sometimes it makes sense to have it layered. And so when a family's younger and they maybe have 2 or 3 kids and they just bought a house and they have mortgage and they have some debts, a lot of times people, they turn to term life insurance. And term is just something that is very, very cost effective, and it's not very expensive. But you can lock in $500,000 of coverage. And if you're a 25, 30-year-old and you're somebody who's younger, because it's based on your age, and typically if they're healthy, it's going to be very, very inexpensive, right? You might pay, you know, $30, $40 a month, depending upon your health. It could be higher, it could be lower. But all it is you're locking in a set amount of years. You're locking in a set amount of time. So if we got a 20-year level term, all that means is if I was 25 years old, I would lock in $500,000, and if I was paying $40 a month, then that's not going to change. That price is going to stay the same from my age of 25 all the way until I'm 45. That's 20 years of having that coverage locked in. Well, that's nice to have that certainty of having that price being locked in and being same. But when I put the money into that, there's no equity being built. There's no cash value being built. So it's truly more of like an auto insurance. It's truly like an insurance product. Somebody has to die for that policy to actually be paid out. And so it's not a long-term plan. After 20 years, you might say, well, I still need life insurance. Well, then you have to go redo a medical. You have to, you know, your age is now 20 years older. So the price is going to be different. And term still might make sense for you to do that. The other type of coverage is called permanent life insurance. And what that is if you put the money in, and if we use the same example of like a 25-year-old, let's say you put $100,000 of life insurance on a 25-year-old. Well, that might cost them $70 or $80 a month. So it might double. It might cost you more and get less coverage. But what it does is the death benefit, it grows and increases every year, and the cash value grows and builds and increases as well. So it is it's really, really a long-term product to where the price never increases. So if that 25-year-old is now 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, the price is still going to be the same as what they did when they locked it in when they were 25. And that's the real advantage of like a permanent policy, is you're locking in that price for life.
Wow, thank you. I think that, a lot of people really don't know the difference. And these are just terms that they see floating around and they're kind of are like, I don't have to worry about that yet. But it is really quite important for young adults to start thinking about these things because we know life insurance is more affordable when you're younger and when you're healthier. So like you said, locking in a rate, now is, extremely beneficial.
Well, and like you said, it's like you said earlier, one's not better than the other, right? It's just different. It's a good tool no matter what. It just works differently. And sometimes it works really, really well together.
Yeah, and I think that just actually segues really nicely into the next question I have for you, which is some people really feel overwhelmed by the process of buying life insurance. So what would be the first step you recommend for someone who doesn't know where to begin, maybe doesn't know if they should have term or permanent or both, or just starting from square one?
Well, I think that, in today's age, like with where we're at with technology and all the things that are changing so rapid and so fast, I think it doesn't hurt to really go back to the old school method of really like finding somebody that you trust, right? Finding a financial professional that you trust and somebody that you can sit down with and they can help educate you and they can show you both sides of how it works. You can get a lot of information from online, all over, but then you might have lots of questions, right? You might put it in Chat GBT and, what are you reading out there? There's a lot of stuff that's out there, and having somebody that you can actually trust and sit down with and live life together with, especially when it comes to life insurance, it does matter. So I would say the first step is to, reach out, find somebody that you trust, find somebody who's been through the situation or has helped other families through the situation, and let them, invest into you and educate you so that you can make a really, really good decision for your family. And once you have the information, most people typically can make the right decision, and they'll make the right decision for their family.
Yeah, I would really agree, especially, finding somebody that you trust. Like we live in a digital age, right? Like you and I are speaking to each other right now from across the country pretty easily. And there's so many tools, there's AI tools and everything. But, I think for when it comes to your family and, your finances, finding a human that you trust, that you can really sit down with, that you feel is going to have, the best interest of your family at heart and, not an algorithm, is really important. And, I think that life insurance, you really need that human experience there to, you have to trust them, like you said. So
I would say one other thing is like Life Happens is great because they have like websites, they have materials, they have information to educate people on and just awareness on life insurance. And then you can take that one step further, and they're not pushing one company, they're not pushing a product, they're not pushing anything, they're just pushing awareness. So you can learn as much as you can with the awareness, and then you can move to an individual, because a lot of the companies today, they might be pushing certain things, but you really want it customized to specifically what's going to benefit your family. And I think that's why, the personal touch and the personal individual, that is really, really critical in life planning.
Yes. And, Life Happens really strives to just put the facts out there. And we do actually have on our website, find a professional tool. So, once you read through our content and, you learn a little bit more about life insurance and you're ready to talk to that financial professional, Life Happens actually does have that, that tool just to help you find one near you that might, align with what your family needs. So, but life insurance, as we know, doesn't just, have one purpose. So, in addition to replacing income, what are some other ways life insurance can help support families financially?
Well, I think the life insurance is, besides just the death benefit protection and the protection piece of it, it is a critical financial tool, right? That clients and families or business owners that they can use as emergency funds, buffer assets, alternative bank accounts, savings account. There's so many different financial ways that it interconnects to things that you're doing in your life anyways. And So when you really get down to the morals and the values and the love that you have in your life insurance is going to be one of the greatest financial tools that you can have inside of your plan. And so I think, again, it goes back to education of just teaching people, what are the taxation benefits of life insurance? Where can you put money into a permanent policy and have the inside buildup of that plan grow and build tax-free? And in a lot of states have it completely protected from creditors and lawsuits. And so it's not just only when you pass away. Like both my parents have passed away. I had an unfortunate event when my father was, when I was in high school. My father, somebody crossed the center line and it was a really tough situation, but life insurance helped my mom and us three boys survive during that time. And it helped us not just with the death benefit coming in. There was other policies that were there that were available that were used as like an emergency fund, or down the road used as an opportunity fund for me as a young man at that point, to use the money for college funding, to use the money as a down payment on a house, to use the money to buy a car, right? To get up in life. And there's lots of living benefits of what life insurance can provide for families and individuals. And a lot, they just don't know it. They just don't know what's available inside of life insurance and the protection it brings, but also the way that it's protected from the government and the tax advantages and the benefits that it does hold, which is very, 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 very high.
Something I would also like to ask you is, knowing that they have these policies in place, when tragedy strikes after someone's passing, and they have a policy in place, like how does hearing that impact you as a financial professional?
I think that it's a success stories in times of tragedy, right? It's amazing because that's like why we're here. That's why we're here as financial professionals. That's why we're here to help people, is to make sure that it's not just the time of living life in those moments that are all just amazing and we're having great times. It's during the hard moments that those are really touching for me, because that's when you can see the impact of, people being emotionally maybe down at a time where they really, really need somebody to comfort them. And it's not all just about money. It's about giving them peace of mind for them to be able to live and to have hope to move forward. And I think that's really, really important. And I would say most financial professionals, that hits their hearts pretty deep when they deliver their first death claim, when they deliver their first moment of somebody having a tragic loss or a big moment in their life. That is a very, very critical moment in a financial professional's career, because I think it changes, because they see the impact and it makes them have a deeper connection, but also they're more passionate about doing what they do to help people. It helps them with that.
Yeah, no, I know I've spoken to other financial professionals who really feel like, at their core, they're so passionate about what they do because it does help people, dealing with such intense loss, children losing a parent, someone, losing, disability, having, losing their career or whatever, just knowing that, at the end of the day, as horrible as all of this was, at least, they are taken care of. They can stay in their home. They can go to school. They can take the time they need to truly grieve and adjust to the new life that they have to walk into now without worrying about finances. And I think that that's like incredibly important, and incredibly important to highlight. So, obviously Ryan had so much love for his family through all of this, setting up these policies, and February is our Insure Your Love campaign. It's Insure Your Love month. So in your opinion, why is February a good time to show your love by protecting, those you love the most with life insurance?
I think February, for me, just being in the industry, it's well known that like February is always Insure Your Love month. And so it's a big push to just go out there and connect with people that you care about, and, talk to more people and just have those open conversations to like make people aware that, I'm not the only person that has necessarily had a loss in my life. Most people have had some form of loss, whether it's a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, a grandma, a grandpa, something that everybody has felt loss some way, shape, or form. And so I think February is just exciting to me because it's almost like a little bit of a push to get people out there more to talk to the people they love and help the people that they love. And why would you not want to love more people? And love is just leaving others valuable experiences. And just like with Ryan's case, Ryan loved his family so much and he loved them. And by leaving them valuable experiences when he was alive, but he's passed. And now he would have wanted them to continue to live and leave his kids with many, many, many valuable experiences. And that's what they're doing. And that's what it's in their life. That's exactly what is happening. And he would have wanted that. And so I think February is just a great example to get started every year. It's kind of like January, February, second month of the year. It's like, hey, let's get started and get the year started right and just go love more people.
Yeah, I think February is, right now we're still in the time where people are like still thinking about like, okay, it's early in 2026. Like I'm, working towards my New Year's resolutions. And, we also have Valentine's Day, which, I think a lot of people think that's only about romantic love, but there's so many types of love besides romantic love. I think it's very important to, remind your friends, your family that you love them, being neighborly and, there are all sorts of, different types of love and it's not reserved just for romance. And I think it's just a great way to remind people to, make sure your family's protected just in case.
Well, we still do so many policies on Valentine's Day, or we do so many like Christmas, like, end of the year gifts. We do that all the time with like grandparents, parents, loved ones, where you'll have somebody that will buy a life insurance policy on their grandchild or their son or their daughter. And they're like, hey, we're not going to buy them any more gifts for Christmas. We're going to buy them a life insurance policy and put so much money into it every year because we want to set them up forever. We want a lifetime gift for them forever. And we've done the same thing. And then we package it all together, the life insurance, and we put it all together and we put the policy and we have all the information in there. And they actually present it and give it to their kids or their grandkids. And we've done the same thing for Valentine's Day, like you're mentioning, is we've done the exact same thing where we'll have a life insurance policy of $1 million life insurance, and the husband will put it all together. And it's a great way to show love at a deeper level.
Well, I know that I've taken up a bit of your time today. Thank you so much for your valuable insight and, being part of this release of the Pleasance Real Life story. I think that really is going to be a highlight of our campaign this month for Insure Your Love. And for everybody watching, feel free to reach out and share a story. If you yourself or your clients have a story to share, we would love to hear you out and, possibly feature you in a real life story. To submit, you can go to lifehappens.org/real-life and drop a comment below if you have any questions about real life stories or about life insurance. Thanks for watching.